Welcome back, I'm Larry. So now we're going to be restoring the fresh air vents that you find in these 1973 to 79 Ford dent side trucks. So let's go ahead and jump into it and take a look at what we got. So this is what the driver's side fresh air vent looks like in the 73 to 79 Ford trucks. So we're going to take this apart. I want to put new seals in here. We're going to replace this gasket here that seals it up against the kick panel. There's also a seal up in here as well. You can see right there that actually seals the cold air from getting into the cab when you want to close it, like during the winter time, because fresh air comes to this hole here from the kick panel when this is open and blows fresh air in. And then when you don't want it, obviously you close it. It's supposed to seal it, but a lot of times these seals are so old now they leak, so you can feel cold air leaking out past them, and then your cab will not heat up as well in the winter time when you got the heater on. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is separate this panel here. So these two pieces separate. Sometimes you have to, this one here just happens to already be loose, but sometimes you got to put a screwdriver in here and like pry it apart a little bit to break these little tabs loose, and be very careful not to break the plastic. But this one's already apart, so. And you see here, these little plastic tangs here is what would generally be pushed through this piece in these holes in here and then melted on the other side to hold them together. And once that's apart, we can take the door out, which simply just comes out like that. And now we got to get these gaskets off of here. We got like this almost like styrofoam type gasket here. They always just dry rot. And then you have this foam gasket on the other side. We'll just rip this off and clean it up. Sometimes it's still stuck pretty hard, even after the glue getting old now and everything after all these years. But that's pretty much how you do it. You gotta take your time and do it. And then once I get it down to a certain point, so I can kind of scrape it. Like so. And then I'll take, it's better if you have a brass bristle brush, but you can use a steel one. It's just a little bit, you know, more rough on it. But take the brass one, you can go around the edges of the plastic and just start scrubbing it. Essentially, you want an end result of something like that. It ain't got to be 100% perfect because the glue will still stick to it. But you want it as clean as you can get it, you know. Something like that or like this is fine. And then for this side here, this side I've noticed is easier to clean than this one here is. And this one is the main important one after all anyway. This one, I don't know if it's because of the gasket material or what, but it seems to come off a little easier. I just cut under like that. You get a good section of gasket off, then you can take the razor blade and scrape against the plastic and get the glue residue off. Like so. And then we're gonna do the same thing. Take that brush and just scrub it. And so that cleans up pretty nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish cleaning all this up, and then we'll come back afterward. Another thing that would work is if you don't feel comfortable using a razor blade, you can use a plastic scraper as well. It'll be more forgiving on the plastic. Okay, so if you got some spots like right here where the gasket material will just not come off and you're catching hell trying to get that off, what you can do is take some sandpaper. No specific grit, I'm using 180, but yeah, you could probably use 120, 180, you know, whatever. You can take the sandpaper and actually go over it. And that will help take it off. Okay, so now we got this all scraped clean, all the gasket material off both sides. We're gonna go through and clean this up now. So what I usually use, I get a microfiber towel, some window cleaner. You can use dishwashing liquid and water, whatever. And then one of these nice detail brushes. They work really good for scrubbing in to corners you can't get to. And they also work really well for cleaning this vinyl grain texture in the plastic and really getting down in there and cleaning all that out. I'm gonna work this brush in down to this grain really good, and that'll really help pull all that dirt out of this grain in this plastic. And really, I should have cleaned the inside first, so then when I finished, this side would be up. But I just want to demonstrate showing how to clean that grain really good. But now I'll put this on a piece of cardboard or something, or a towel, so I don't mess up what I just cleaned, and clean this backside here. And it's better on the back side to let it hang off the edge of the table, so then you don't break your handle off, because you start putting pressure on here, you could break the handle off or crack the plastic in here. What I have here is, this is the gasket kit here, and I picked this up off of eBay from a company called Detroit Muscle Technologies. I'll leave a link to this in the description, and that's where I got that from. What we're going to need is this centerpiece here just gets punched out. We don't need to keep that. That doesn't get used. So throw that to the side. And then same for this, centerpiece gets punched out. So this one here would go like that. And we are going to glue these down just like the factory did. I always just test fit them, make sure they sit flat first, which this is the second one I've done, and it's set flat perfectly, fits perfectly just like factory both times. And this one here obviously goes in here like this, and again fits perfectly around the hole, so that looks good. I'm happy with that. So there's two ways you can glue these gaskets on here. You can either use a spray multi-purpose adhesive, and this is the brand that I use. This is actually what I used the first time I did one of these on my 76, and it seems to be holding up very well. The other option is 3M yellow or whatever color, but weather strip adhesive. And I think this time around, this is what I'm going to use, and the reason why is I think that's what the factory used. When I was cleaning this, I noticed when I was scraping the glue off, you can kind of see it right here where the glue is kind of like a yellowish tint, and I think that's what the factory used. They just put a bead of weather strip adhesive around the gasket, stuck it to the plastic, and let it go. And that's it. I think that's what they did to both sides, because I've seen the yellow stuff in here as well, like this weather strip adhesive, and I think that's probably what they did. So like I said, the spray adhesive has held up so far. I think I've done it probably as I'm shooting this video 6 months to a year ago now, and it's still holding up fine. But I think this time around I'm going to try this just to see how this holds up and how this works. If you wanted to do it like the factory did it, you would install this gasket here first, the inside. Then put your door in here, and then you put it back together. And if you wanted to, you can take where these holes here are, right here, and one right there, and you got these tabs right here. You could take and put this together and go in here and heat this little pin here up and melt it back down and like crimp it like the factory would have done. I'm not worrying about doing that. I'm just going to leave it to where mine can come apart, because once you put this in the truck, these 4 screws are going to clamp it to the truck and hold this together anyway, to where it can't come apart. So it's not that important to do that. And then if I ever need to do this again for whatever reason, or take it apart to clean it or whatever I want to do, I can just take it apart and put it back together real easy. So one more thing I'm going to do real quick before we apply the glue is I'm going to take some isopropyl rubbing alcohol and rub the surfaces that we're going to be gluing, just to make sure that it's clean. We can go ahead and apply some weather strip adhesive to this gasket here. I like to apply it to the gasket, that way wherever I lay the gasket, I know the glue is going to contact. If I try to just put the glue on here, I might miss a spot where the gasket's going to contact. And it's alright if some oozes out, because the factory did as well. You can see where, once you take one apart to clean it, you can see where the factory glue oozed out as well. Now we're going to just lay this down. Make sure you line it up, because once you set it down, it's going to be there. So you don't want to crush this by putting too much pressure on it, but you do want to put nice firm pressure on it all the way around. Make sure it really squeezes that glue out and adheres to the plastic really good. Then what I like to do is go ahead and put the slider back together and go ahead and drop this down on here. And the reason for that is that door will create pressure. Will create pressure on there and help it put tension against it to help it set better. I like to go ahead and install this in the truck, because I usually do this outside gasket first. And then I can go ahead and put it in the truck as it's drying. But in this case, I'm not ready to put it in the truck yet. So, okay, once it's set for a few minutes, we can take this back off up here. Like so. Repeat the same process, wipe the perimeter with alcohol. Another thing about using the weather strip adhesive versus the spray adhesive is the spray adhesive, you have to be able to spray the glue on here and on the seal as well, and then let both sides kind of tack up for a minute and then stick them together. So you have to tape all this off and make sure that no overspray gets on it. With the weather strip, you just lay a bead and then put the gasket down and then let it sit. And once again, like this one here ain't super important, because it's going to be pinched between the plastic cover and the truck anyway, so it's not as big of a deal. Since this one does have to stretch over the plastic, you gotta be a little bit more careful with it to not get glue on anything like I just did. And then while it's still wet, you can come back with your alcohol and clean up the mess like I just made. So that'll be all right, it's good enough. Because I'm gonna take a little bit of petroleum jelly and just very, very lightly coat the outside of this gasket here, only this one. And you may wonder why. A couple reasons. The one reason is it'll make the door easier to slide, because when you put this back together, it's a very tight fit with everything being nice and new and thick, and opening and closing that door is so tight to the point it almost feels like you're going to break the handle off. That's why it's better to keep the door closed for a couple days and let it settle, and then it gets easier, but it's still really tight. So by doing this will make the door slide easier, but it also helps prevent this seal from drying out as quickly. I'm just gonna go around the whole gasket and rub it in really well. And you really want to do this before, or after, it settles for a little bit, like let it sit here and dry so you don't accidentally move the gasket. You do that and just rub it all the way in. I'm gonna do this all the way around it, just to give it a little bit of lubrication. Okay, so then once it's done, you want it to look something like that. Just a nice, really light coating. Like I said, rub it in really well while not moving the gasket and all around. A little bit of lubrication to the door, and also make it where it lasts longer, where it doesn't dry out. Now that is a done deal. It is ready to go in the truck whenever ready. And that will seal out all the cold air from coming in and make it to where the heater works a whole lot better in the wintertime. Let's give one final close-up look at it. It turned out really well. And there's a gap down there because it ain't tight yet. You see how it's opened up at the bottom? That's why, because of the way I'm grabbing it. But once it's tight to the truck and all, you can see how it's going to close right on up. And that looks really nice. And as far as I know, they do not reproduce these. So if yours is leaking, this is really the only option you have, unless you just want to get rid of it altogether and put a block-off plate, which they did do on the non-AC truck, or the factory air-conditioned trucks came with just a block-off plate in the hole where that would be. Okay, so this is after installing the new vent, or the restored vent. And you see how it just opens and closes easily. Like it's stiff steel, but that Vaseline really helps it glide against that gasket. And now I'll have nice fresh air coming in when I open it, and then when I close it, it'll be nice and sealed off, and won't have to worry about air leaking in. All right, so that's all there is for this video. That was a pretty simple, quick, easy restoration. You know, you take that old gasket off, clean it off really good, put that new seal on there, and it's like brand new, better than ever. So, and it's good because it really does make a difference. Like so, I did the one of my 76. My 76 actually has factory AC, and I took the block-off plate out and put one of those in just because I like the fresh air. I got the sliding glass window. I like the fresh air coming in when I don't want to run AC, and it don't leak any air at all because I had to buy one for that truck since it didn't come with one, and I resealed it before I ever put it in, and has not given me any problems at all. So it'll be nice because this truck here, that vent is actually for this truck, and it was leaking. The one in this truck's leaking air past it. And you can feel the air when you're going down the road. You can feel, especially when it's cold air, you definitely can tell when that's blowing in for sure. And you put your hand on there, it's blowing out past the vent and all, and it's because those seals are just gone. And that'll take care of that. And the reason why I didn't just restore this one is because it's cracked. In a couple places, the vents is cracked in it, and one of the bolt holes is cracked, and somebody painted it. And I hate painted plastic parts. I will do it if it's an absolute necessity, if like it's faded and like really faded bad, then I'll do it, but a very light coat only. But I hate painted plastic parts. So, and you can't really get the paint off without ruining the vent, because you can't put acetone on it, it'll melt the plastic. So it's really hard to get paint off of plastic. So I was like, hell with it, I'll just buy another one and restore that one. I found that one on eBay, picked it up for a few dollars, well, more than a few dollars, but I found one in really good condition and picked it up and restored it, and it looks great. So I'm happy with it. So that's it for this one. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, consider subscribing. You can now become a member. The link is in the description down below. It's only $1 a month. Join if you'd like to. I'd appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the drop box down below. And that's all there is for this one. So until next time, I'll see you on the next one. Take care.